is potentially talking about this story instead. What Michael Bisping did on Saturday, and I have to be honest with you, I have yet to see it. I don't know how to watch it because I wasn't in the arena when it happened, is to me one of the greatest stories in the history of the sport. And really, it, in a nutshell, is what I love so much about this sport. Here's a guy who was in the UFC for 10 years, who's had his ups and downs, who has always been great to the media, who's always been a fantastic interview, who has always come on this show whenever I've asked him, who wasn't the first choice to fight on 2.5 weeks' notice, and who went out on Saturday in front of his family and realized his dream. That, to me, Michael Bisping, what he did, I mean, it was almost, I didn't even know how to digest it all. I couldn't believe that just happened. Michael Bisping is the UFC middleweight champion. No one gave him a chance. And I hate the fact that I'm not talking about that today. I hate the fact that I'm not talking about Dominic Cruz's win or Max Holloway's, but I don't have it in me. And you will remember, after Bisping's win over Taos Ladies in July, I was saying he deserved a title shot then. After his win in February over Anderson Silva, I was saying he deserved a title shot then. And so I'm very happy for the man, the whole team thing. And so I believe that everyone has a role. And so that's my role, and I try to find the news and get it. So I got the Nate Diaz-McGregor news. Well, I was hearing rumblings about Brock Lesnar, and I finally got it confirmed. Multiple sources. Again, I say this to anyone who wants to talk to me about journalism. You have to have it confirmed by multiple sources. You can't just have it confirmed by one. And preferably, it can't be from the same side of the table, if you get what I'm saying. You have to have it confirmed by multiple people when you want to report something. And I finally got that Brock Lesnar was close to signing a deal, or he was close to finalizing a deal to return at UFC 200. And I finally was able to confirm that around 5 o'clock. And so I posted that as well on the site. And again, it's awkward because you're sitting there in the press room. It's not usually a place where you do it. So then you report that, you tweet it out there, and people are now like, whoa, what's going on? The Conor Nate thing, a member of the PR staff came up to me after I reported the Conor Nate story and was kind of like, I don't know if this is right. I don't know are you sure about this? And I said, yeah, I'm sure. Again, I take a lot of pride in batting 1,000 and not getting things wrong. When you hear it from me, I hope until the day I die, it will be true. You can go to the bank with that. I mean, my second son's name is Walter. For a major reason why I wanted to call him Walter was because of Walter Cronkite. That's how much journalism means to me. And what was Walter Cronkite? He was, the most trusted man in America. Who was Walter Cronkite? That's who he was. I love the name, but I also love what that man stood for. That's what it means to me. I'm not playing around with this journalism thing. It means a lot to be trusted, to have that credibility. And so, when Colin Cowherd was saying to buy your tickets for September 17th, Mayweather-McGregor, I was taking that personally, because when I have a platform like this, when I'm able to talk to all of you, I'm not going to play games with you. I'm not going to let someone tell me something for negotiations to try to play games. No, if I tell you to buy tickets because it's a lock for September 17th, you best believe it's a lock. That means a lot to me. So I reported the Brock news. And again, people were saying, are you sure about this? This can't be right. He's a member of the WWE team. He has a contract with them. He retired from MMA. How could this be true? And I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, like I was talking to Casey Leiden, our videographer. I'm like, man, how many more times do I have to do this before they stop doubting me? I thought the Fedor Jaideep Singh story was the end of it, but it will continue. So that news comes out, and I was told, for the record, that they were going to break it on the broadcast. I did not include that in my story because I didn't really think it was necessary to include where it was going to be broken. I knew it was going to be done on ESPN, the opponent announcement, but I'm not trying to steal anyone's shine. If I have news and sit on it, I'm not doing my job. Like, sometimes I call up managers and fighters and they tell me all kinds of stuff, and then I say to them, is this on the record? And like, no, it's not on the record. I'm like, well, what was the point of that? You think I just want to get this information for myself? Like, just because we're friends? I appreciate it, and I understand that sometimes you need off-the-record information to, build stories and understand where things are. I get that. But, for the most part, the end goal is to report it, to share this information with the public. So I couldn't sit on that. But I didn't want to tell the world about the pay-per-view. That was their thing. All you needed to know at that time was that this is close to being a done deal. That elusive open slot for UFC 200 was about to be filled by a very big name. That's news to me. That's a big deal. And yeah, you can bet that, of course I want to get it first. That's part of the rush as well. But that's not at the expense of being wrong. I will never do that. I will never say or report or write something that might be right just so I can be first. I'd rather be last than be wrong. I knew this was right. So then I was being told that the UFC was upset that this came out. But nothing happened. I was in the back. I was watching the fights. Right before the main event, a member of the UFC PR staff came to me and said that Dana White wants to speak to you. Michael Bisping was about to fight Luke Rockhold, and I had a feeling that this wasn't going to be the most pleasant conversation, and I didn't feel like anything good was going to come out of it. So I said, look, I want to watch this fight. I want to cover it. If you get what I'm saying, take it in. Maybe after. I don't really want to go back and talk to him. A couple minutes later, a higher ranking PR person came to me in a very serious way and said, you must go to the back. I said the same thing. He said, you have to go to the back. I said, well, I'm not going to the back unless my colleague Casey can come with me. I didn't want to go alone. I didn't know what was going to happen. I wasn't going to go into that storm alone. After some back and forth, he agreed to let Casey come back with me. And I've thought about that a lot because of what happened to Casey that night, which I'll get to in a brief second. So we go to the back. It was just a hallway, a few steps from the media room. The main event's about to start, by the way. And Dana White is there. Some other members of his team are there. And he just says to me, you're out. Get out of here. You're done. We don't want you here anymore. Go to Bellator. I said, why? He said, you're too negative. I said, how is what I'm doing any different than all the other great sports journalists out there? Adrian Wojnarowski, Adam Schefter, Bob McKenzie, Ken Rosenthal. How is this any different? I was talking about a guy who was about to sign a contract to fight. I wasn't talking about super secretive stuff. I wasn't talking about the sale. I wasn't talking about disparaging things. I was talking regular fight news. And let's be honest, all of this is happening and people are, trying to say that I'm standing up for journalism and I'm this martyr and all this stuff. That's cool. And if you want to say that, fine. But it's all a little bit embarrassing because none of this is some great investigative journalism that I'm doing. I'm not going to win a Pulitzer for any of this. This is fight stuff. This is what we love to talk. This is barbershop stuff. Brock Lesnar is coming back. That's incredible. I'm not putting out there who they're negotiating with to sell the company. I'm not talking about, having WME as their representative in their sale talks. Goldman Sachs. I'm not talking about any of that. I never do. He said, you're too negative. He said, Lorenzo wanted you out of Fox, and that happened, and he wants you out of here, and so you're out. Now, I will say, a lot was said in this conversation. I think initially he just wanted it to be like, you're out, see you later. But a lot of things were said, and a lot of what I thought were pretty mean-spirited things were said. I'm not going to betray that trust, despite the fact that they did that, and I'm not going to repeat all of it. But when you have someone of Dana's stature saying the things that he said to me, it does affect you. And I said to him, look, Dana, as I've said in many interviews and I've said on this show, I owe a lot to Dana White in particular. I really do. UFC 97, the first time I interviewed him, my microphone died. He said, go out and get another one. I'll be waiting here. And I went outside. I went in my car. I got another microphone. He was still there when I came back. UFC 112, when Anderson Silva put on that weird performance, he interviewed with me. He's always given me the time of day, and it hurts me that this has happened. But maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm dreaming. I felt like deep down inside, he didn't want to do that. I think he was respecting the wishes of his partner, who I've never really had a close relationship with, and he was doing what he was essentially told. That stance hasn't changed, that it's still the old days for whatever reason, which is strange because you can make the case that in the early 2000s, late 90s, the MMA media, the internet media were the ones really keeping this sport alive. I mean, the Sherdogs and all these, these pioneers, these true pioneers. And that's why I wanted to have Jeff Sherwood on the show a few weeks ago, because they were the ones doing it way before any of us here on this show or, some of the newer journalists. But I decided I need to make it public because, a lot of young journalists come up to me all the time, some who cover MMA, some who don't, some who want to. And they say, for whatever reason, we look up to you, and you've done a great job of giving us hope that we can be MMA journalists. When I was in Syracuse in 2001, there weren't a lot of people doing this full time, and I was very far away from doing it full time. But that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to, like I said, and people make fun of me, I wanted to be the Howard Cosell of MMA. And I wanted someone, somewhere, some executive in 10 years to say, all right, who's the guy? Let's hire him. That was my goal. My goal was to be the face of MMA media. I wanted that, of course. Same way LeBron James wants to be the best basketball player, and you at home want to be the best plumber, accountant, doctor. That's what I wanted. I don't think that says anything bad about me. And so my line of thinking for making it public was, if they're going to do this to me for reporting about some fight news, what are they going to do to the younger guys who have come up to me and said that we're afraid to report things? That's not the way it should be. I get their perspective. They have a big announcement. They have a super cool promo. They have something that they want to do. They promise to scoop to someone else. I get that. But guess what? It's 2016. News gets out there. We're all trying to advance our careers. We're all trying to break news and be reporters and things like that. It's not malicious, but we're not going to see eye to eye all the time. Sometimes you're first. Sometimes I'm first. More often than not, you're first. And guess what? When the news is out there, no one cares who was first. No one cares. Do you think anyone would be talking about me reporting this on Saturday, today, if none of this happened? We'd be talking about Brock versus Mark Hunt. We'd be talking about Michael Bisping, new champion. We'd be talking about Dominic Cruz and what's next for him. No one cares. No one cares. Of course, as the insider, you want to, that's part of the job to be first and things like that. But at the end of the day, no one cares. And so, if there are other people who are afraid, it's not, none of us are journalists. We're just advertising. We're just PR. And it can't always be like that. That doesn't exist in other sports. Other sports have the Baseball Writers Association of America, the boxing writers, the NFL writers, the NBA writers. These guys band together. We don't have that in our sport. And so what I believe is the only way to get this out there, the only way to let people know what goes on in MMA is to put it out there. And that's why all the interviews that I've done today, from Dan Patrick to Rich Eisen to Dan Lebitard and others later, I thank them all because they're doing a huge service to every journalist out there. This is an MMA bubble story, and it has been for a long time.